Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Max and today I'll be talking about the future of 3D printing. This is a survey I conducted just 2 months ago in the year 2018. It is the same survey as in the year 2015. The results of that survey you will find in my older videos. This time around I will try to stick some key results of this survey made possible by Billie Ruben. She made the data visualization and the graphics, and as you will see she did a great job doing so. So in the year 2018, 365 participants answered the survey, while in the year 2015 it was only 85 participants. This increase in participation rate was because Clare from E3D spread the word about this survey, so thank you Clare for spreading this survey and giving me this high participation rate. So the first question the participants had to answer was, how long have they been working with a 3D printer? And as you can see, the biggest group was those that have more than 2 years of experience. So 53, so the majority of participants have more than 2 years of experience with a 3D printer. That group was significantly smaller in the year 2015. It was still the biggest group in the year 2015 with 32%. But the groups in general were more proportional in the year 2015. As you can see, those newcomers that have less than 6 months of experience were 23% in the year 2015, while in the year 2018 this decreased to 8%. This means the 3D printing community became more experienced and the 3D printing community also matured over the last few years. The participants were asked if they would print a household item, and 92% said they would. And this is a similar number to those participants that answered in the year 2015, which was also around 90%. So there is quite a bit of faith in their 3D printer. And this also shows in the following question when they were asked how useful do they think a 3D printer is. And none of them said not useful at all. But 19% said useful from time to time, and 66% said very useful, meaning in general 85% of the participants think the 3D printing technology is a useful technology, while 15% said, well, it's just a hobby and has nothing to do with usefulness. So do they only say that they think a 3D printer is useful, or do they actually have an object that is useful and as such show that 3D printing is useful? And this is so because the participants were asked if they have a 3D printed object they use on a daily or at least weekly basis, and 83% said yes, meaning they don't only say a 3D printer is useful, but they actually can show that a 3D printer is useful. Also, the average satisfaction rate of the 3D printers stayed stagnant. So in the year 2015 it was a 7.1, so the users were asked to rate their 3D printer from a 1 to a 10, where 10 was the best and 1 was the worst. And a 7.1 I thought in 2015 was a good average, and that did not change over the last few years. It actually slightly increased to a 7.3. And I actually thought that due to cheaper 3D printers finding their way onto the market, that more users might have a bad experience assembling and working with those printers, and as such would give their printers a lower satisfaction level. But it seems to show that the 3D printing community could actually decrease the price of a 3D printer and still stay satisfied with the quality that printer produces. Also interesting was to ask if they use a CAD program to design objects that they 3D print, and 93% said yes, meaning that 3D printing and CAD kind of goes hand in hand. But a follow-up question was there first the chicken or the egg? So did the users use a CAD program before buying a 3D printer? And 52% said yes, while 48% bought a 3D printer and then got into CAD. So meaning there is a half-half situation, so both profit from each other. CAD profits from 3D printing and 3D printing profits from CAD. One of the questions I also asked is what kind of objects they usually print, and multiple selections were possible, and 91% they said they print their own project, which is great to see. And 75% actually print parts and upgrades for their 3D printer, meaning the 3D printer is still consistently evolving and is being upgraded. Also, 68% use design platforms like Thingiverse and Imagine to download gadget and figurines to print those. And a newer category, which was not available in the year 2015, orders on demand, actually show that some people use their 3D printer as source of income, or additional income might be. So let's say, put it that way. Not everybody might use their 3D printer in a professional sense and sees it more like a small side business. But this is an interesting category, because when asked about a future trend, how do people print objects in the future, 30% said, well, they will have a 3D printer in their own home, meaning they would print their own objects. While 55% said that the general population will get in contact with the 3D printing technology via on-demand printing services, meaning those that are actually currently working on orders on demand actually might be working in the service industry of the future. 15% said, oh well, 3D printing will remain a hobby, and this technology will not mature in a way that the general population will get in contact with. However, how does the general population can get in contact with 3D printing? And I asked them, do you believe that future companies will embrace open source and engineer 3D printable products? So, and 51% said yes, that will come true. So, believe here is made bold, because I asked them, do you think this is going to happen? Not if they would like to see it. And 27% said no, but those 27% might want to see a future in such a way. And this is the follow-up question. Would you like to see a company that engineers products to be 3D printed? And 91% said yes, meaning those that said before no would actually like to see this future coming true, even though they don't actually believe it's going to happen. So, 3D printing community, let's make it happen. Also, there is some commercial interest behind this, because if a company made a 3D printable product and supplied a build kit of unprintable parts, would we buy it? And 85% said yes. So I thought a 3D printable product would evolve in some kind of build kit, so you have electric motors, bolts, bearings, and so on and so forth. But 12% were unsure. They might have already a quite large workshop and have a lot of supplies right there, so they might not need to buy everything twice. So for them, a build kit might be not the way to go. And 3% said no, they don't see 3D printing that way. Also, interestingly, is there some kind of adverse support for such a company that creates 3D printable products? So if a competitor produced a cheaper build kit, would we still buy the original? And 52% said yes, 43% were not sure, and 5% said no. Those that were unsure would like to support open source, but it depends on the price difference. So if the cheaper build kit is like $20 and the original costs like $50, then this price difference is too high for them to justify it to support the original. But if your price difference is reasonable, they might probably buy the original, meaning that in general we actually support open source, even though if there is an adverse economical downside to it. So let's recap quite quickly. 2018 had a third less newcomers to the 3D printing technology. 91% of the 3D printing community works on their own personal project and use 3D printers to realize them, which is great to see. And 91% also would like to see engineered products for 3D printing. And open source is still a key feature in the 3D printing community, because less than 5% of us would buy a build kit from a cheaper source than the original designer of a product. Yeah? So this means our 3D printing community has an affinity to open source, and we can see that also quite recently. Creality becoming open source, the first Chinese 3D printer manufacturer in China that became open source, and it shows that we as a community are actually pushing open source and trying to keep open source part of the 3D printing experience and also part of our values. So I hope you learned something, that you found this survey to be interesting, and I hope to see you next time with my next video. Until then, see ya, bye.